it's always a major choice in life that when you're on stage, whether you sit or whether you stand. We chose in all our wisdom that standing is better today.
It is.
And we're also up and standing because the topic is so urgent
Yeah.
that we cannot be sitting and speaking. We have to stand up and speak. Good to have all of you here. What a pleasure it is to see all of you. I have the great pleasure of having Amit here because Amit is the ground truth of what's happening in AI. From a person who has to ultimately face the music that if AI is deployed, then what happens? I am the person who makes the claim that AI should be deployed. So between the two of these, I would say two views of the same problem. I hope we are able to present some ideas to you and have a great discussion today. Please, at the end of this conversation, happy to answer questions as well. And so on and so forth. Quick introduction from my side and then hand over to Amit for an introduction. CEO and co-founder at Skan, lifelong entrepreneur. One key specialization across all the companies that I've built and sold is the use of or the injection of digital into what is essentially eyes on screen, fingers on keyboard kind of business processes. And the key problem there is not the injection that you're making, RPA, natural language, chatbots, AI models, AI automation. It's not their injection. The key point is where do you inject and how much understanding do you have, how much context you have of that execution. Because I think that determines what AI can and cannot do for that business process. I'll talk more about it, but just remember this notion of context for AI to be able to run your business processes. That's the theme that we work on. We are deployed at the top 7 banks in the world, 20 plus insurance companies, about 30% of the Fortune 100 uses us for the same reality to understand their business processes using AI. Amit, over to you.
Thank you, Avinash, and always pleasure to speaking with you and your team. So my name is Amit Thawani. I'm CIO within Lloyds Banking Group. I represent insurance, pensions, and investment, also wealth. After we acquired the wealth business last year, we are on to a very interesting journey in Lloyds, especially because one, we are a bank. We are the largest digital bank in the UK, 28 million customers, of which 22 million are digitally active. But also we own the social responsibility in the country. And our goal is to help Britain prosper, and goal in our unit is to help Britain invest as well, because we see that there's a massive gap. There's a gender gap in terms of pension, there's a gap in terms of advice for the wealth generation. So I think Britain definitely needs a lot of help. How do we do this gap closure is through technology, and AI is going to play a big role in this journey. Thanks for having me.
Amit, sorry, did I press the wrong button? Okay, never mind. It will not change. Yeah, that's fine. It will not change the content. I studied at a school once at IIT Kanpur, and we had a professor who came to a class. He started the class and he said, regardless of what the topic is, I can only teach you what I know. Same is true, and by the way, not to make light of it, I have been at 3-4 conferences in the last 1 month, a banking conference, an insurance conference here in London, InsurTech Connect, and so on and so forth. And it is such a strange thing that no matter what the conference is today, it could be a pet insurance conference, for example, but the topic still remains, which is what does AI do to our work? And so it is the most urgent and the most important topic. And also one of the key things that I see physically that I feel is this whole FOMO of missing out, but everything has to happen here and now and right away. That bank is doing this. What is my bank doing? What's our AI strategy? Everything all at once kind of feeling that we are getting. So Amit, my first question to you is that when you're in this FOMO phase, how do you keep yourself current, and what does Lloyds Bank, for example, do to stay current with AI?
So I read a lot. I keep my eyes and ears open. My dad told me you have got 2 ears and 2 eyes and 1 mouth, so speak less and listen and read more. So I read a lot. I listen to a lot of great people, but also within Lloyds Banking Group, we have a clear attention on educating the colleagues and the employees to really upskill themselves on AI, including the senior leadership, the CEOs. So today I only had a session with the Cambridge University that we have partnered with, the Cambridge Judge School, and we had a professor of philosophy teaching us responsible AI, which is super interesting. I'm going to share a couple of lessons learning from there. So the whole idea is to keep yourself up to date. Tech alone, okay, it's nice. We need to know what's happening in the tech side, but also understand what are the other perspectives. So I read a book called as AI Mirror from a French writer, I forgot the name. Very interesting book, very different way of looking at AI or tech in general. So, I'll highly recommend.
Thank you. It is indeed true that sometimes it feels like drinking from the fire hose, the amount of things that are happening around us in AI. But we'll narrow down the problem today to discussing agentic AI, right? And the pilots that we are doing and this notion of context graph. But I think we must begin from acknowledging one central fact is that all AI tooling, as all of you are aware, is built around a probabilistic mechanism, a probabilistic tool. Whereas a bank is not probabilistic. Amit, either you sanction a loan or you don't. Either you answer in a certain way or you don't. And there are very clear rules. Whereas AI, on the other hand, even if it makes a mistake, it will prove to you that there was a mistake to be made, right? So in this whole thing, this gap between a probabilistic tool and you as a bank trying to do deterministic execution, how do you think about this whole problem?
I will use one analogy here. So, if you read the books that teach you how to use AI either as a microscope or as a telescope. So, microscope to deep dive, get some insights. Telescope is to look into what's coming in the future, kind of trends. I think the real value of AI with the things that have evolved is using it to execute on your behalf. Now, when humans execute, we have a lot of context. We know the guardrails. We have a lot of experience when we do these repetitive tasks. But AI, in your point of view, like it's really probabilistic. We can't take the risk as a financial industry to run our business with probabilistic models. So there has to be a bit of determinism in our execution. And there's a lot of research going on. There's a lot of frameworks now which enable the neurosymbolic layer in your architecture. I think that is the key. I was talking to Avinash this morning. I was reading about how Palantir has built their architecture, like how can one company can execute pretty much all the domains as a bank, as a FBI, CIA, NSA, you go as a retail shop, they can give the solution to your problem. They don't take months and months, they don't get into a program mode. The reason behind their success is they have a massive investment that they've done on building their ontologies underneath. So their ontology is their unique selling point. Now, for us as a bank, we have two options. Either we buy the ontology from a third party or we make an ontology which fits our business and our values. I will use one more example here, which is very, very interesting. If you ask the same question to Alexa and to Siri and to Google Home or Google Voice Assistant, and the simple question could be, Siri, I love you. Repeat same question with Google Home, repeat the same question with Alexa. You will get completely different answers. Google is very balanced. It might say, I'm not here to address your romantic desires. Very simple, no bullshit, no nonsense. Siri is a bit flirty. It will say, yeah, I equally love you, I'm flattered. And Alexa actually plays a nice love song for you. Now, it all depends how you want to, the crux is how you want to treat your customers, right? So for us as a bank, we know exactly if we put a dumb bot or a chat in front of the customers, there is zero value. Especially in my business, which is insurance, they don't call us for debit card, credit card. When they call insurance business, somebody has died in their family. Their house is on fire. Like they are in a real panic situation. And if you don't show any empathy in your conversation and act like a bot, you lost your customer. And for us, customer is the most important. So I think there's a way we need to mix the power of AI where it's deterministic, where it is probabilistic. When it comes to fulfillment, when it comes to giving the answer, is it covered under my insurance policy? Yes or no? I don't want to listen to the policy. I've come to you, tell me in one word, it's there or not. And if it can't, then it fails. So the whole idea is to how do we bring it together? And it's not easy. We are still learning. We just launched our first agentic solution, Invest AI. The development took us 2 months, but to make it live, 9 months, 7 months was just testing about is it empathetic the way we want it to be. So it takes a lot of fine tuning.
I think there are two words that like we as a business like to tell our customers that are extremely important from a AI enablement point of view. is that the ask of the AI agent is extremely simple: to reason and to act like my own employees do, right? But to get these AI agents to reason and to act like my AI employees do, I need to give them all of the training and all of the lived execution history of my organization. Where did we pay a fine? Where is a certain thing prescribed? Where from a certain controls inventory, I need to make sure that a certain control is applied when I'm making certain decisions. Where does it come from? It cannot come from external sources, because that is what makes your bank unique. That is what makes your organization unique. So therefore, your success in AI is not dependent on the next intelligent model. It's actually dependent on your context that you carry already within yourself. And Skan as a company actually helps you extract that. And that's why this word context becomes very important. First is context. The second word very important in the AI era is eval. So the fact that they were able to build their agent quickly is one point, but they spent 9 months evaluating it. That eval again against what do you evaluate? That again is your execution. Historically, what have you done? In both cases, you need AI in that sense to build context and create enough data for you to evaluate whatever non-biological entity now you want on your execution theater. That's the key, I would say, key thing that bridges. So it is context and eval that bridges probabilistic execution against probabilistic outputs against deterministic execution. Is that you have policy and guardrails. I mean, we take for granted that when someone onboards our organization, we just don't throw them into the job. We tell them the policy, we tell them the contract, and against the policy, they do their business processing. So where is this policy coming from? And what is the lived execution history is what is most important in this, bridging this gap between a probabilistic tool and deterministic execution. Amit, I do want to still extract more juice out of this conversation. So that from what is the, so that this is what, see, I'm a vendor, right? I build technology, I'm in love with technology, and I would want you to, and every other bank, to use our technology to do better AI and so on and so forth. You want to serve your customers better, so therefore you want. But truly, where does regulation stand today, particularly in your area? What does regulation say can and cannot be done with AI? Does it necessarily want a human in play? Does it not? What is the state of the art?
I think regulators in UK are the most advanced regulators I have seen, because they are very forward looking. Like, they have built the sandbox in partnership with NVIDIA that's accessible to us, like in Lloyds Banking Group, where we can do live testing, and we can keep the regulators in the journey right from the beginning, rather than going to them towards the end with bunch of documents and papers as evidence. No, so it's a co-creation. This is the first thing. Second is, regulators always ask you, because if it is PRA, they will ask about how are you going to protect the customer harm? Like, show us the evidence. How are you going to do the observability? Do you have auditability in place? How do you build the trust in your responses? And that's the core of partnership with FCA. Now, the guardrails have to be extremely smart, and you mentioned about evals. So I would like to emphasize on evals. There's a paper from Anthropic as well, which talks about if you build the first thing in agentic world or in AI, you need to build the evals, starting with even the DeepMind's founder. The way they started building their DeepMinds as an organization after UCL pass out, they first built the eval. Eval is equivalent to building the pipelines in our traditional technology platforms or systems. So you run your eval with your int environment, and you constantly run your evals on your prod environment. So you see the real time how your models are actually performing, and whenever you see that they are going off the track, have a kill switch and kill them. So the question from regulators is how quickly you can do the damage control, what is your explainability, what is your observability, and how do you take certain decisions? Can you show us the track, or let's say the logic of coming to a conclusion from point A to point? And this is where probabilistic and deterministic again they actually come together.
And the point is that it is very easy to get a pilot up and running, but it's the thing that makes it in production is the eval part of it, is the determinism part of it, and the regulator being able to have full control over that. And you, in fact, not regulator, you should have full control to tell the regulator that I have the kill switch, or I can, have oversight.
Also, Avinash, one thing is orchestration, which we often don't take seriously. So orchestration is between, so we have a lot of backend systems. Some of them are connecting to your LLM model. Some of them are going to call your API. Some will call a third party through MCP. Like, there are lots of system of information that you can connect to. your orchestrator layer has to be absolutely fantastic, which will also have evils inbuilt. But to build it is an art, and it can also impact your FinOps, because if you can build an agent to replace a human repeatable job, and if you don't know how much it will cost you, you already lost the game. I will take an example. If you do 2 plus 2 with a traditional calculator versus if you do 2 plus 2 with an LLM, you know how much token it takes for 2 plus 2? 50 tokens. It's insane. So we should not be using a bazooka to kill a mosquito, as we say. That's why how to use, when to use LLM versus when to use probabilistic and deterministic is super, super important.
In fact, that is the theme that across our customer base that we see a lot, which is this, that as we move towards agentic execution, fundamentally, where will agentic execution take place? If Salesforce and other partners give you those agents for you to run the Salesforce or some banking software, where does that execution take place? And who owns the execution? There is what I call as the original sin. And that original sin was when we said, well, all right, we will send everything to the cloud, right? And because of which we are locked into that. But our dependence on the cloud in some sense is still only small, because ultimately it's the data that is on the cloud, right? But the challenge in front of us, Amit, and I hope the audience will also work at banks, is that what is coming is even scarier. Because now the lock-in is not with respect to data, it is with respect to the process when you use an agentic AI that is building on someone else's platform. So Amit knows this, and at least I see in my customer base as well, that there is a strong desire to look at execution, what is called as in-prem, air-gapped agentic factories, in which the learning of the business process happens on the customer's data. That learning stays within the firewalls of the customer. That learning trains AI to act, and the AI acts locally.
This is the IP, right? So this is the IP of the business.
This is the IP of the business. I mean, you will not, for example, as a bank, you will not say, well, all my employees now will sit in some other building and be run by someone else, but here I am the bank. That is not possible. So there is something key about what you are that you have to retain, and I believe that retention is the process part of it, which you must control. Even if the execution theater is now replaced by, instead of warm body intelligence, as a mosaic of warm body and non-embodied intelligence. I think that is a critical component from where we are seeing this whole thing evolve as to who owns the execution, how much cost is there of this execution, because cost is fundamentally dependent on control. And you have no control over how many tokens you spend if you're going to ask the LLM every time 2 plus 2 equal to 4.
Yeah. And the reason we started talking, Avinash, in the first place was we had two options: to build this ontology ourselves by discovering our processes, which takes millions of years because there is no clear documentation, processes are stale or they are not. Other ways to be a bit smarter and use a tool like Skan, which runs on your infrastructure, which tells you exactly how the process is being run, the ontologies around it, and then you can create your entire database. So that was the reason, and this is the foundation for the next executable agents other than just the glorified chatbots.
Absolutely. And I think the holy grail which is the holy grail that has been chased over the last 20 years, whether we were in the RPA era or today in the agentic AI era, does the organization have a machine readable record of how work gets done? I think that is what is at stake. If you have that, you control your destiny. Otherwise, the agentic vendors who run agents for you will abstract that business process and hold you ransom in some sense. Yeah. I think it's a separation of where your process brain is versus where the arms and the legs of execution are. And I believe that that's the gap between probabilistic and deterministic execution. That is also the gap between whether you will be beholden to your vendors for execution, or they will execute, but you still control the strings in the process brain, whether you own your ontologies and the process brain or someone else does. All of it begins with, and I will say this shamelessly, begins with Skan and the context of work that is created. Of course, there are many other options. But point is that unless you have a machine-readable record of your own work and you're able to create models that learn from your work, that is the main point. By the way, there is a sleight of hand that many of the LLM companies have done to us. And the sleight of hand is the following, that the example that is given is, well, hey, LLM, book my airline's ticket. This is the website, book it. And it'll do it. That's fine. The sleight of hand is that because it can do that, so it can also adjudicate a loan. It can onboard a customer. What could be so different? The point that is glossed over is that the act of booking an airline's ticket on the internet has been seen trillions of times. Its user interface, its policies, everything is known. But how a Lloyd's bank versus, let us say, another bank runs its AML operations on the same tooling, same regulation, may be entirely different. And so no LLM has access to the internal workings of the organization. You have it. It is your data, your process. You should use that data and that process to come into models that you own. And then from there on, link it to execution or transformation or optimization or monitoring and control. That's the headline piece that we wanted to talk about. I'm deeply thankful to Amit for having been with us on stage and providing some real-world examples of this thing. There are many more. I've known Amit for some time now. And Do I Love You, Alexa is just one tip of the iceberg from the many anecdotes that Amit carries. You should get to know him better. You will learn a lot. Thank you all so much. Thanks.